My boyfriend and I live together, and for the longest time we've wanted to pet a cat, a dog, maybe even a hamster. But between our busy schedules, frequent travel, and a strict pet policy in our building, we knew it wasn't the right time. So, as a joke, I said, "Why don't we just get a robot vacuum? It's practically the same thing." We laughed about it, but then we actually bought one. We named him Jack. At first, it was just a practical, investmentless sweeping, cleaner floors, nothing more. But then, things started to get weird. Jack wasn't just a vacuum. He had personality. We noticed little quirks she'd pause at the same spot every time he passed our bedroom, as if he was listening. He started refusing to go under the couch, stopping just before the edge like he was afraid. We even joked that maybe Jack had a soul, but the more time passed, the less funny it became. One night, we were watching television when we heard a thump in the kitchen. We assumed it was Jack bumping into something, but when we checked, he was parked perfectly in his charging station, silent, harmless. Then, another night, my boyfriend woke me up at 3 a.m. "Did you turn on Jack?" he whispered. I groggily shook my head. Jack was supposed to stay off until morning, but we could hear the quiet hum of him moving down the hallway. My boyfriend got up, phone in hand, ready to record, but the second we stepped out of the bedroom, silence. Jack was right where we left him. We started getting paranoid. We turned off his auto schedule, removed the app controls, and even physically turned him off before bed. And yet every morning we'd find him in a different spot. At first, it was subtle, just a few inches off. But then he started moving rooms. One night, I had a nightmare about Jack. I dreamed he was watching me sleep, sitting at the edge of the bed, his little sensor light blinking like an eye. The next morning, I woke up to find him in our bedroom doorway, facing directly at me. I refused to turn him on that day. Then came the breaking point. My boyfriend was away for work, leaving me alone with Jack. I triple-checked that he was unplugged before I went to bed. But at exactly 2:17 a.m., I woke up to a soft whirring sound. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and followed the noise. Jack was in the middle of the hallway, facing our front door. And then right as I pointed my light at him, he moved. Not in a normal, programmed pattern. Not in a straight line. He jerked to the side like something had shoved him. I screamed, grabbed my keys, and ran out of the apartment in my pajamas. I stayed at a friend's place that night. The next day, my boyfriend came back, and we both agreed Jack had to go. But when we picked him up to throw him out, we noticed something. The bottom panel was loose. My boyfriend opened it up and found a tiny, almost invisible device lodged inside a micro camera. Someone had planted it there. Someone had been watching us. We immediately called the cops. Turns out, the camera wasn't part of the vacuum's original design. It had been added after we bought it. But here's the twist. We ordered Jack brand new from an online retailer. He was sealed in the box when he arrived. So who put the camera there? The police took it in for investigation, but we never got answers. They said it could have been an inside job from the manufacturer, or maybe someone hacked the device remotely. But the fact that it moved on its own, that was something they couldn't explain. We got rid of Jack that day. We threw out every smart device in our apartment to no more Wi-Fi cameras, no smart speakers, nothing. Just old school locks and an overactive sense of paranoia. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. a faint hum, like a vacuum rolling down the hallway. Jack may be gone, but I don't think he ever left.
I will be very grateful if you subscribe to our channel. Back in 1994, my best friend's mom vanished without a trace. She was walking home from work one evening, just a 10-minute stroll through their quiet neighborhood, but she never made it back. The police found nothing, no witnesses, no security footage, no sign of struggle. It was like she had evaporated into thin air. She left behind 4 kids, 10, 9, 7, and 4 years old, and a husband who was completely blindsided. Her money, Idaho, and belongings were all still at home, untouched. At first, people thought maybe she had been abducted. Then, as time passed with no ransom demands, no calls, no leads, the theories became darker. Some whispered that she had been murdered. Others thought she had run away. But if she had, why not take anything with her? Years went by, and eventually she was declared legally dead. The family grieved, struggled, and tried to move forward. Her husband never remarried. How could he? He never had closure. The kids grew up, forever carrying the weight of an unanswered question: what happened to Mom? Fast forward to now, nearly 3 decades later. The kids are grown, with families of their own. And just last month, their grandfather, the only real father figure they had left, passed away. The funeral was emotional, a final goodbye to the man who had helped raise them when their mother disappeared. And then, right after the service, she walked in. Their mother, alive, standing in the back of the funeral home, dressed in black, a solemn expression on her face as if she had every right to be there. The room went silent. The air was thick with disbelief, anger, and shock. One of her daughters burst into tears, another stormed out. Her husband, now gray and weary, just stared at her like he was seeing a ghost. And in a way, he was. The first words out of her mouth: "I'm here for my share of the inheritance." Turns out she hadn't been kidnapped. She hadn't been killed. She had run off with a coworker, a man none of them even remembered. They had planned it carefully. She faked her own disappearance, changed her name, and started a whole new life in another state, never once looking back. She had more children, a new husband, and she never once reached out to the family she left behind. But the kicker? Her side of the family, the aunts, uncles, cousin Shad, known she was alive this whole time. They had kept her secret for nearly 30 years. The betrayal cut deeper than anything else. The kids she abandoned, now adults, demanded answers. She had none, just excuses. She had felt trapped. She had been unhappy. She had wanted freedom. And now she wanted money. She lawyered up, citing that she was still legally entitled to her share of her father's estate, since she had never actually died. The family fought back, but the legal battle was an uphill one. And as if things weren't twisted enough, her new children, her second family, had no idea she had faked her death. The truth came out in court. Her other children, her real family, as she once called them, were blindsided. They had been living in a fantasy, thinking their mother was an honest, loving woman. She wasn't. She was a fraud. Her name was splashed all over the news. Reporters dug into her past, exposing every lie she had built her new life upon. And the more people learned, the more the pieces fell into place. Turns out, she had done this before disappearing from responsibilities, starting over when life got hard. In the end, karma did what karma does. Her new husband left her. Her real kids disowned her. And after years of legal battles, she barely walked away with anything. Her old family, the one she had abandoned, wanted nothing to do with her. The doors were closed. The bridges burned. And now she lives alone. No family, no inheritance, no way to undo the damage she caused. Just the weight of her choices, pressing down on her like the ghosts of the past she tried so hard to escape.